because I have two boys, two sons who both snore. And so I was looking into, actually I'd taken a previous class who talked about having tonsils and adenoids out with early orthodontics. And then I somehow got in touch with a provider with Healthy Start or Orthotane, and that made way more sense to me than following through with surgery for my kiddos.
How do you fathom the fact that this is something that's still a foreign concept to most parents?
Yeah, I think even for me, I had no idea about it. I actually, my same son, who's now just turned 8, but at the time he was 5, snored, toss and turn, freight train, took him to the orthodontist. Oh, his arch looks great. I'll see him at 12. And I was like, okay, he still snores. And the orthodontist honestly was like, why does that matter? I was like, oh goodness, okay, so that I was running into a roadblock. Healthy Start was also a foreign concept to my local orthodontist. And so I could see how, even for my own self as a mom, not even, and as a dentist, I think, whatever, that is way too simple. Those are little appliances, how can that even work? But then when I start getting behind the science and look at the cases and the research, it makes sense to me to catch these kiddos while they're young, because we use the natural growth and development that God developed us to have.
So when you listen to Dr. Bergeson, and he's talking about all the aspects of the design in this appliance and how many things it's simultaneously doing, is that, just the most amazing genius?
Genius, too good to be true type concept. You have to have a little bit of belief, have to have compliance as well. But the before and afters are amazing. So I just know in my heart that it's the right thing for my kiddos.
Yeah, that it's a movement that you're on the maybe not the front end because it's been around for years, but you're on the front end in your community.
In my community, for sure. Try to get the word out. The more kids, like I said, I'm in a family practice, so I see, well, sometimes even the grandparents, the parents, and the kids, because we're a pretty tight-knit community, not a huge metropolitan area. But yeah, so the more and more I've got, this kid's working in Healthy Start, he goes to baseball or soccer, and what do you mean? That kid doesn't have braces? I can do this without braces? Boy. So one of the other personal experiences I've had already with Healthy Start is with my Mitchell, who's now 5. At this point, when I started him in a habit corrector, he was 4, and he's been in speech therapy starting at 2 years old. And as his mom and as a dentist, I knew it had something to do with the control of his tongue. He couldn't get it right. And so speech therapy in-house, because I was obviously very concerned. My child had a speech issue. Let me think. We started a habit corrector when he probably spring of 4 years old. He wears it every night. He actually loves it. He got reevaluated for his speech condition at the end of summer, so fall of 4 years old, and I call it graduated. And I'm telling you, he was already in speech for over 2 years. Great improvement, don't get me wrong. But the use of the habit corrector, I know in my heart, helped his tongue positioning, and everybody can understand him now, and he doesn't need speech therapy anymore.
And when you're talking about the tongue position and the pacifier and everything, the new appliance that they just came out for the toddlers that has the tab on it.
I have many neighbors who I still see their little kiddos with pacifiers, and I do think, now that there's this toddler-size habit corrector, I could see how easy that would be to swap that out with a pacifier.
And so what would that do? If they were using that instead of a pacifier, what is that doing to the development of the oral?
I think help to shape the palate, because the tongue is now repositioned up to help shape the palate, versus too narrow, the suction and everything's too narrow, and we come up with less palate, less space, less airway space as well.
When they show the diagram of the head kind of cut at halfway through, and you can see the whole anatomical lines. I looked at that a couple of months ago, and I'm like, oh, that's what the tongue looks like in there. We think of the tongue
look how
as
huge it is.
Yeah, and it's and how it's attached, and that we think of the tongue as like a dog tongue hanging
Gotcha.
out, and so we've got this character cartoon image of a tongue, and the tongue is so different. How do you describe the tongue as a muscle that could fall back?
Which is the most powerful muscle in our body for sure. And one of the things I'm learning, with my patients who, let's say they're no longer 5, maybe now they're 15, snoring issues, sleep disorder, breathing issues, yet you can look at them and go, well, you had braces, maybe not, who knows. But yeah, it seems like the tongue, if you're sleeping, is going to fall back and help cut off the airway. So that tongue has such huge ramifications early on to get that guy trained to help shape the whole arch, both arches for that matter.
And the jaw.
And the jaw, yeah.
I think about the fact that most of that development, if parents can grasp that it's got to come forward, down, and broaden for the complete, balance
for everything
of the
to
face.
line up and together.
Yeah, there have been articles that talk about the human face is smaller now, and it's, there's tying it all together. So if you can point to all of these studies, all of these articles that are coming at it from their own perspective, their own studies, but they all tell one story, is it easier to share this with parents? Are they on board with you, or are they resistant?
I think so. Well, I think almost everybody's pretty resistant, especially once you say, oh, and by the way, both of my kiddos are in this appliance. So that makes a huge difference, because as a mom, we all would, I don't think anyway, not want to sacrifice something for our children, not want to make a wrong decision for our children. We want to do the best thing we can think of for our children. And so I think getting my community educated, getting my patients educated, my parents educated, the more I know, the more I can help explain it to them as well.
I noticed that when you're here with your friends and staff and team, you guys are all chiming in on what you're seeing with other patients, and those patients may be the children of your staff. So
yes, absolutely.
Everybody's on board with this.
Everybody's on board with
this.
this.
And so when you can treat your patients as well as you would treat your own family and the children of your staff, then people have got to know that.
I think so too. Oh, whoa, okay. Maybe I don't know X, Y, and Z, but the fact that Dr. Jaci and all of her team's kids are doing this makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, do they...
Obviously, she sees something in this issue, condition, appliance that's totally going to work and be beneficial.
How would you compare giving this to your child for every advantage to be the best version of themselves?
That the connection between ADHD and sleep disorder breathing, behavioral issues, just pure exhaustion in kiddos. I don't think that's out there yet.
What level of conviction do you have that there is anything that you have learned in your entire education from dental school to practical experience that comes close to what you now understand through this Healthy Start program?
Not really. And this is just one more preventative measure. So the way I would start to look at it is just when I bring an adult in for a comprehensive exam, same concept. I need a job growth development exam for my kiddos. So to me, it seems comprehensive and preventative all at the same time.
Well, how do you feel about the fact, or how do parents feel about the fact that it's passive, drug-free, that there's absolutely nothing in here that's going to hurt anybody, so you can't lose?
It is. It seems to be like it is a win-win situation. Yeah, absolutely.